So I would propose that there are already hands going up, so we just go directly to the question of the public. We have more or less 55 minutes, so let's try to have 3 and 3 questions, always like blocks of 3, and then the podium is again responding, and then we take the next 3. So I just ask the people with the microphone choosing the people. There is Jörg in any case here at the beginning.
Okay. Ich mache auf Deutsch. Ich gebe ehrlich zu, ich hatte Bedenken über diese Runde, aber ihr habt mich sehr positiv überrascht. Ich danke euch allen für die Beiträge und insbesondere bedanke ich mich bei dir, Cinzia, und zwar, weil du in deinem Vortrag zum Thema Antifaschismus auf den ersten Blick erstmal überhaupt nichts gesagt hast oder sehr wenig gesagt hast. Und zwar zu Recht. Du hast aber dafür umso mehr über das gesprochen, was meiner Überzeugung nach Grundlage von Antifaschismus sein muss. Nämlich der Kampf die sozialen Kämpfe um Interessen der Arbeiterklasse und der Mehrheit der Bevölkerung. Das war dein Thema und meiner Überzeugung nach muss das Grundlage des Antifaschismus sein. Also wenn die Charakterisierung, die ich vorgestern war es jetzt, der faschistischen Herrschaftsform zutreffend ist, nämlich dass das Monopolkapital auf die Einbindung und Mitwirkung der ganzen Gesellschaft angewiesen ist hinter seine Ziele und dass der Faschismus deswegen eben die rücksichtslose und vollständige Unterdrückung jeglicher Interessen organisiert, die sich nicht in die Ziele des Monopolkapitals einbinden lassen. Dann ist es meines Erachtens nach naheliegend, dass wir auch verstehen müssen, dass wirklicher und wirksamer Antifaschismus erst dann existieren kann, wenn Menschen sehen, dass sie für ihre Interessen kämpfen müssen. Warum sollten sie sonst einen Grund haben, sich dagegen zu wehren, wenn der Faschismus ihnen genau diese Möglichkeit abnehmen will? Also meine Überzeugung ist, Antifaschismus ohne Kampf um Interessen, der ist, wenn man dann vielleicht mal eine Aussage von Lenin aus einem anderen Zusammenhang hier ausleihen darf, ein Antifaschismus ohne Kampf um Interessen ist entweder unmöglich oder reaktionär.
The comrade on the left there, Max, I don't remember her name, sorry.
Thank you very much. May I suggest that next time you open the floor for questions to explain what a question is? And my question is to Ernest and Nasrin. I think you put it very aptly, Ernest. You said that we need to yellow vest the social movement, but we find ourselves in a contradictory situation where people find their action in social movements to be inept and insufficient. However, they are also very terrified of repression and being more active and escalating their action. We have, for example, issues finding people who are willing to show their faces or their names on social media posts. And I wanted to ask, what are your suggestions in fixing this contradiction?
Yeah, Jonathan is my name. I have 2 questions. One to Cinzia. You talked about the anti-militarist union work. My question concerns 2 things. So first, what do you see as the connection to anti-fascist work in anti-militarist and peace work? And the second is, what are the alliances in Italy right now beyond the unions for anti-militarist and peace-oriented work? So who are the people you work with outside of the unions? I guess there must be groups and people you do this with, and what is the argumentative base for this piecework? So do you talk about, for example, the UN Charta in your work in the Union as a basis for international peace and institutional structures for peace? And my second question is to Nasrin. You talked about how the anti-Deutsche hegemony has been broken in Frankfurt, and they are not as present anymore as they were years ago. And my question is, how did it come to this? So what happened?
Okay, I propose to make the first round of answers. Cinzia, Nasrin, Ernest.
Vabbè, uno va sulla repressione di lei, lui invece aspetta cosa aveva detto? Lui invece sulle alleanze, terzo, sulle alleanze, sulla politica antimilitarista, in che modo è servita le alleanze, che alleanze costruisce, sono le Ok, resto qui, sì. First of all, one consideration about your speech. Yes, we have to fight for our interest, for the interest of the class. And one of the difficulties, problems today, as I told in my speech, is that they worked to divide the class inside our countries and also at international level. It is one of the reasons it is so important also the international work that we do as USB in connection with the other class-oriented trade unions. One example is the connection among the ports, and we blocked the weapons in many ports around Europe, and not only Europe, and so also many other points. Another point I want to say is about the repression against the protest. In fact, there are struggles. There are some struggles in Europe too. There are some struggles in Italy. We do it every day. We are conflictual, so we bring on struggles, and the repression is. It is true. The repression is very hard. There are many countries in the world where the repression is that they kill the trade unionists, that they fight in a clear way against the capitalism, against this situation. There are many trade unionists inside WFTU, for example, that they were killed. Most of us in Europe where they were dismissal, for example, for the protest supporting Palestinian people of this year, and so many other points. But we know that, and I think that repression will be increased. In Italy, they approved this last law, very hard law against the struggles and against the protests, but they are organizing themselves better than now, because they know that the situation will be harder. The situation will be difficulties. The perspective is the war. The only perspective for the European countries is the war. So they are organizing themselves. We have to do the same. About the connection. In Italy, we for example, yesterday we were in the demonstration with the coordination Disarmiamoli, and inside it there are groups that have the same clear position that we have. So the only way to, especially today, we cannot bring water to the generic left parties. We have to stay with the parties, groups, associations that have a clear position against war, to support the Palestinian people, that have clear what is Israel today, a terrorist state, that have clear, and that have clear what is also the European Union. So today the only way to create connection, to do struggle together, is the clarity. It means that we don't talk with other, no, we do meetings, we are open. We are open for the confrontation, but we don't, but we maintain the clarity of our position, and I think it is necessary today. I don't know.
Thanks for the remarks. I'll try to briefly answer about how to overcome the fear of repression. I have a kind of easy answer, is that, the easy answer would be let it to the masses, meaning that the masses always are more inventful and so on that we pretend to be. The thing, though, is I think we have first to take it seriously, the repression, and secondly, not to let us be narrowed by it. Take it seriously if I think something our camp doesn't actually do these days. For instance, there's a huge gap between the data we have on the current state of state surveillance, state's ability to spy on communications and so on, and the way we basically are in connections with other comrades. The fact that, I don't know, for instance, that we don't always use Signal for our talk, or that we still talk on the phone, might, in the face of the possible fascism arriving in power, seem a bit crazy, actually. That we know that states and so on are able to basically spy our everyday life, and we as comrades or communists don't really take it seriously because we are we still use things that we know are being spied on. The risk would be to basically adopt a kind of clandestine lifestyle while it's not fascism yet, and to cut out from basically regular normal people. And I think there's a kind of balance to find between taking seriously repression and not to cut out from the normal people. I think what was interesting with the Yellow Vest, and that's why I say let it to the masses, was that the Yellow Vest movement was so intense that it kind of reconfigured the space of respectability, meaning that they basically they basically organized crazy, extremely violent riots in the heart of Paris, and still, not only like the majority of the people, but the government was talking to them like quite seriously, like, okay, you're respectful interlocutors and people. So that it gives you a glimpse of the fact that a strong social movement have the ability to re-elaborate what's respectful or respected or not. And I think that's a lesson the left should really like draw from, is that what seems the rules in a certain configuration are not the rules per se in itself. And a strong social movement should not really care about the rules, but try to reconfigure its own.
This? Okay, thank you also for the questions. To Sabrine, in short, I think also we talked a lot about this, but I'm a big fan of building protective structures and protecting structures through like, having ways of better organizing ourselves. And there are like great examples in history for that. But on the other hand, I think there is no ultimate protection against repression, and the best way to tackle the fear, I guess, is not overprotection, but facing it and facing the repression, and also mocking it to a certain extent, because it also has two sides. The one side is like really scary, but the other side is also sometimes a little bit funny and silly, and especially I think in Germany there's always also a funny side to it, and we can try to also make jokes about it. That doesn't mean that we don't have to take it seriously, but I think in the end this is the only way to engage with fear, is to go through it and to make a decision. Jonathan, your question, I do not have a fully thoughtful answer to it, but I think there are many factors. First of all, the world happened, or the contradictions in the world have become much more clearer. And so this changed and made the anti-German narrative so openly not leftist that it's difficult as a leftist integration ideology at universities. Secondly, I think there were some inventions inside of the university that gave space for more of internationalist and anti-colonial thoughts. For example, the post-colonial, decolonial turn, whatever you think about it, but I think it opened some spaces for discourse. Then I think it's a generational thing. I think some of these anti-Germans, they are now making career in university and somewhere else, so they left their radical phase, they don't want to go to demonstrations, but they want to just work. And last thing, maybe in Frankfurt specifically, I think it's also our fight. I think it's the front. We all build it, like the Palestine structures, the Studis, the SDS, and other people, they build it like this very strong community in fighting, and I think this has had an impact. Lastly, I wanted to say something to Jürgen, although you didn't address me. Of course, I think we would all agree that anti-fascism and class struggle or social struggle needs to be connected and should be the same, or is in the end the same from their nature, maybe. But maybe I would disagree, or I did understood you not correctly, because I think the nature and the forms and appearance of things are not always the same. And in the case of fascism, it has a very concrete and specific form. And it's also important to work at this level. And this means that people can organize themselves for their direct social interests, for example, having a strike for their wages, but not having anti-fascist consciousness, and other side around. So people can be like, can have made the experience with racism, but not being in the union and so on. So these are different levels, and we also need to organize people at different levels for a concrete struggle. So I think to just dissolve anti-fascism in the bigger social struggle is in the sense like dangerous, because then we don't fight in the anti-fascist movement. And this doesn't mean that, especially for the communist, socialists and so on, it's always the task to connect these things. But anti-fascism is also like a defensive fight. It's anti, so it's not just for another society or just anti-capitalist, but against a specific form of capitalist power, and this is the fascism. So it's also possible to have like wider alliances against fascism that wouldn't agree with you on the social part of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Before I pass the microphone to the others, I just wanted to add one little thing on the question of the alliances. Cinzia mentioned a couple of times the demonstration which took place yesterday in Rome. Just a few words. It is like an alliance called De-Weaponize Them, So take them the weapons away. This alliance is composed by over 80 social movements, unions, grassroots unions, political parties, and the major political party is my political party, Potere al Popolo, Power to the People. Yesterday we were 20,000 people in Rome, and already today, while we are discussing about anti-fascism, messages are coming in. We are already organizing also, after US entered the attacks, the war against Iran, that from today and tomorrow we will be again on the streets in the territories where we are with this alliance to say no to the US imperialism, no to NATO, and against the military bases that will be used in future also from Europe to attack countries. And so this is the reason why we want to also talk about it in here, because it's important that this movement against militarization, NATO, against also a new program of defense infrastructure in Europe, that we have to join the forces, we have to put us together against these 3-4 slogans, as Cinzia said, very clear. We have to be very clear on that topic. There is no way to like hesitate or thinking that there is a possibility to not be clear on that. This is the reason why from tomorrow and today even we are again on the streets with this broader alliance. But now I would like to pass the word.
Kann ich schon? Ja. Due to the very dramatic current situation now, I want to ask a question, especially to Nasrin. By the way, I'm very happy about your presentation. I think that this panel is very, very high class, and an extra thank you for this. Nasrin, I want to focus a little bit on the Linke Party in Germany. The Linke Party was the first party in the Deutsche Bundestag, in the national parliament, who made a definition of the BDS movement and the Gaza flotilla and the one-state solution as an extreme right position. It was in 2011. So I come to this state, the anti-fascism, this proxy anti-fascism. That's my topic. That's why I refer to you. And the thing is, for me, it looks a little bit that they played the role of a kind of vanguard, yeah, to invent all this false and very ideological definition of anti-fascism as, yeah, to definite left-wing issues as right-wing. So now I make a jump. On October 12th, one of the leading politicians of the Linke Party made in the Deutsche Bundestag a comment about the Iran situation, and he invented in the Deutsche Bundestag the term Islamic fascism. And he criticized very, very harsh the politics of the German government because they were too polite to the Iran. And he said the result that Germany did not go a very hard and escalating course against the Iran one result was that something like 7th of October could happen. So he was a kind of, how do you say, a hardliner in this Iran politic in the Deutsche Bundestag. We see that in Austria, the KPÖ, the Communist Party of Austria, plays a similar role and is also very a speaker for Western agenda. And now I come to the end. We have now the situation that after more than one and a half year, the Linke Party now says we have to make a demonstration in solidarity with Gaza and so on. more than 1.5 years since the massacre starts. And for me, it would be interesting, do you trust this? Or is it anyway, again, a kind of taking over a movement and trying to neutralize the real critique and the anti-imperialist agenda of the pro-Palestinian movement? Thank you.
Ja, ich bin Jouko Jokisalo aus Finnland. Ich bin sehr zufrieden mit dem Seminar und Inhalten, aber eine Frage wurde total eigentlich ausgeklammert, nämlich die Klimakrise verschärft alle ökonomischen und gesellschaftlichen Prozesse. Rüstung verschärft die Klimakrise. Wir leben eigentlich die Endzeit des vorderen Kapitalismus. Und das ist sowohl die Menschheitsfrage als die Klassenfrage. Jetzt meine Frage, wie hält sich Ihrer Meinung nach Antifaschismus und Klimakrise?
Hi, I'm going to start in English. My name is Alex. I'm also from Frankfurt, organized with the SDS. I've got a follow-up question for Cinzia. You mentioned that you're open to talking with other unions, perhaps integrated unions, but just talking with them, if I understood you correctly, because you have you only work with unions and organizations who kind of pretty much share the same views you do. And I was wondering if there's a larger difference between, for example, the functionaries of these unions and the local basis groups, for example. Are they involved, for example, in stopping arms shipments? Because in my experience, at least, the local groups usually disagree with the high-ranking functionaries of their unions. And I was also wondering if there are conflicts about arms conversion that you're having in Italy, because this used to be a huge part of peace work, trying to convert arms production into civil production. I was wondering if that's a thing. And I'd now switch to German, because I have another question for Nasrin. Bei dieser positiven Ausgestaltung zu bleiben, ich habe verstanden, dass Antifaschismus was eher Defensives ist, also nicht wirklich, also so habe ich dich verstanden, dass für dich Antifaschismus was ist, wo man gegen etwas ist, aber nicht unbedingt für etwas. Und das hat mich ein bisschen gewundert, weil zum Beispiel, wenn man diesen, so ein konkretes Beispiel, diesen Hörsaal zum Beispiel umbenennen wollen würde, dann müsste man ja im besten Fall auch einen guten Gegenvorschlag haben, worin der umbenannt werden soll. Also ich glaube, das impliziert schon immer irgendwie, dass man für etwas ist, weil wenn ich irgendwas abschaffe, muss ich ja auch irgendwas Neues an dessen Stelle irgendwie setzen. Und ich hatte dich auch so verstanden, dass es dann nicht so sehr darum geht, um die Universität zu kämpfen. Und ich wollte dich fragen, also zum Beispiel um die Wissenschaftsinhalte, wobei ja der Kampf der Students for Palestine auf jeden Fall auch ein Kampf um die Wissenschaftsinhalte ist, würde ich sagen. Und ich wollte so ein bisschen fragen, woher das kommt und ob ich dich da richtig verstanden habe, weil du hast schon sehr klar dargestellt, wie beispielsweise Ideologie an Universitäten produziert wird, wie das einen gesellschaftlichen Diskurs beeinflussen kann. Und gleichzeitig muss man ja schon auch dazu sagen, dass also kein Krieg kann ohne Wissenschaft stattfinden. Und wenn man Leute kriegsbereit haben will und auch eine Wirtschaft kriegsfähig machen will, dann braucht es Forschung, ne? Also für AI, für Drohnen, was auch immer. Und eben auch die ideologischen Diskurse, die aus diesen Universitäten herausgehen. Und da ist dann meine Überlegung, wäre es nicht konsequent, unter Antifaschismus an einer Universität auch zu verstehen, die Universität zu versuchen, positiv auszugestalten in einem Kampf für Wissenschaftsinhalte, für eine Demokratisierung, für die Ausfinanzierung der Universitäten und auch beispielsweise eben deren soziale Öffnung. Weil ich verstehe diese Defensive, weil man sich vor etwas schützen muss, Aber wenn ich mich erfolgreich dagegen schütze, dann will ich ja auch nicht, dass es nochmal passieren kann. Also ich muss ja diese Grundlagen beseitigen. Genau. Danke.
Okay, we pass to the round of answers. I will start again with Cinzia, it's okay?
First of all, the relation with the other trade unions, no? In Italy, there are the three big trade unions, CGL, CISL, UIL, and after there is USB, and after there are some little base trade unions. So, I know what you say, that there is a difference between among the leaders and the base. So no problems about the base. We are in the working places, we are in the street, we are in every place with our struggles and with our positions. And there are some workers that decide to leave CGL, CISL, UIL, and to come with USB on our clear position and our struggle. So we are open. We are also because we are a trade unions, not a party. So we move ourselves on the clarity of what we do, but many workers decide to come with USB from the base. About the leaders, sometimes there are some contact on a specific situation, but the function of the big trade unions organization is another one, and it is another one from what I told in my speech. What they did during last more than 30 years is to reduce the workers in Italy in the situation that they are, not only with the laws, but only on the minds. But, for example, in December, in Italy, there was the signature of the public service workers. Public service, it means health, school, administration, so many workers. And in Italy, we have the worst contract, not only in public service, but also in the other sectors, but public service is important. USB decided not sign. It is impossible to sign this contract. And CGL, CISL, UIL, they signed many worst contracts for many years. But our is a clear fight against this situation. At the end, also CGL and UIL decided don't sign in a specific sector of public service. So, with our example, they came in a struggle position. But they decide this, so it is important, it is a political victory also for us. But they decide to do it only in a specific sector of public service in which CISL, also if they sign, they haven't the representatives. So I don't know if it is clear, but if they come on a struggle position, a clear position, we are here. But If you look at the trade unions, at the leaders, it isn't possible. We have the same yesterday. They were in the other CGL, one of the bigger trade unions in Europe, was in the other demonstration. In the demonstration where you haven't the NATO, they aren't against NATO. So it is possible to go in the street today and don't say no NATO? In that, and they are not, and also about rearm of Europe, they are not they are not clear because they, not CGL, the demonstration of yesterday, they agree with the possibility, with the reinforcement of Europe, of European Union. So, is it possible to talk about no rearm and accept that we use the money for the military and defense? No. We say no rearm means that we have to use the money for workers and people and health and school and public. So you cannot stay in this position. So it is a completely different function in the last 30 years and today more than in the past. If they want to change today in Italy, the trade unions that represent the old CGL, the class-oriented trade union of Di Vittorio, is USB. Today is USB. And about the... So one of the points in Italy, in Germany, but in Italy too, is the industrial conversation. Also this I told in the speech, but many things. There is the capitalist crisis, no? The systemic crisis of capitalists. They tried to solve before, during the period of delocalization, no? It was real production. After we had the phase of finance, today no other space to solve this crisis. The only way they have in mind is the war. And in Italy, for example, the conversation of the changement inside the production is a reality. We did some meeting with the minister, with the industry minister, and they talk in a clear way. For example, now we don't sell cars, but so the idea is to change the production of cars and other industries to change in defense and military system. So it is a real project that the European government have. Rearm Europe is a reality today. So and they do the same also in the university and research and public research. We did also some strikes with the students, but also with the workers of research and university to support Palestinian people, but also against the transformation that we have inside. I am from CNR, the bigger public research center in Italy. And today, if you want to stay in a project, most of them are for defense and military system. The new European research project, Horizon, the next Horizon, if you look inside, the most of the points of the project that you can do, and so you have money for them, are for military and defense. And in the public services, in the public research in university, what we have many precarious. So they will accept. So it is the lack of conscience inside. It is the reason we are doing all this work, the strikes and all the struggles, also to explain that you are precarious, not for good reason, but for a real reason of this system.
Nasrin, do you want? And then there is also the question of the connection between anti-fascism and the ecological crisis, and then we have the last round of questions.
I would answer this in German, so, because then I think I can avoid misunderstandings. Ja, danke euch beiden für die Frage. Alex, also ich glaube, deine Frage ist sehr wichtig und sie ist sehr groß und ich glaube, man kann eine ganze Konferenz zur Frage machen, wie weit geht Antifaschismus, welche Spielräume können genutzt werden und so weiter. Ich glaube, die allgemeinste Antwort, die man darauf geben kann, ist, dass es eine sehr konkrete Frage ist und abhängig ist von der Kampfsituation und den Kräften, die daran beteiligt sind, wie weit man überhaupt gehen kann und worum es geht. Also man kann das, glaube ich, nicht in dem Sinne so allgemein beantworten, aber ich glaube, warum ich diesen Begriff der Defensive nenne, oder im Deutschen würde man ja sagen, es ist ein Abwehrkampf. Damit ist nicht gemeint, dass das nicht politisch ist oder dass nicht die gesamten Zusammenhänge aufgezeigt werden müssen und dass es darum geht, im antifaschistischen Kampf diese politischen Zusammenhänge auch aufzuzeigen. Aber, und das würde ich glaube ich schon verteidigen, dass die Grundlage eines antifaschistischen Bündnisses, und mit Bündnis meine ich nicht unbedingt Bündnisse von Organisationen, sondern von unterschiedlichen Menschen für ihre eigenen Interessen, die antifaschistisch sind, erstmal auf einer tatsächlich sehr breiten Grundlage stattfinden sollten, und zwar der unmittelbaren Betroffenheit. Also ein Beispiel im Sinne von, in meinem Stadtteil leben ganz viele Migranten und es gibt einen wütenden Nazi und der terrorisiert alle. Die erste Grundlage, die ganz sozusagen fundamental ist, dass diese Menschen zusammenkommen und sich gegen diesen Nazi organisieren. Ja, das ist das Erste. Und danach kann viel kommen. Wenn wir über die Universität reden, ist ja die Frage der Alternative, ist zu sagen, was kann es überhaupt für eine alternative Universität im Kapitalismus geben? Wir reden ja jetzt nicht über oder wollen wir über Sozialismus reden? Das können wir natürlich auch machen. Aber wenn wir über den konkreten Kampf heute in der kapitalistischen Universität reden, dann wäre die erste Frage, die wir stellen müssten, was sind überhaupt Universitäten im Kapitalismus? Und die sind mehr oder weniger direkt staatliche Apparate eigentlich, wo es um die Produktion von Herrschaftswissen geht, ganz grundsätzlich. Das ist ihre Funktion und diejenigen, die dort beschäftigt sind und arbeiten, üben auch diese Funktion aus. Natürlich gibt es trotzdem Widersprüche und Spielräume. Wenn es die nicht geben würde, wäre alles sinnlos. Ja? Dann wäre das ein uniformierter Raum und dann würde ich auch nicht hier sitzen und sagen, man muss so eine Gruppe machen. Es geht nur darum, dass man realistische Vorstellungen davon hat, was rauskommen kann. Zum Beispiel ist der Kampf um eine Demokratisierung der Uni oder gegen Militarisierung und so weiter ist richtig. Auf jeden Fall. Alle Wege und Mittel müssen ausgenutzt werden. Und man muss auch ernsthaft kämpfen. Man kann nicht sagen, es geht nur um Bewusstsein und eigentlich wissen wir schon, dass das alles nichts wird, weil dann ist es schwierig, ernsthaft zu kämpfen. Aber ich denke, es gibt Grenzen davon und die Grenzen liegen wirklich darin, eine tatsächlich demokratische Universität zu machen, weil dann wäre diese Universität, hätte sie nicht mehr die Funktion, die sie hat. Und vor allem in Deutschland, vielleicht gibt es historische Kontexte, in denen das anders ist, weil die gesellschaftlichen Konstellationen ganz anders sind. Aber heute in Deutschland wird man keine demokratische Uni erkämpfen können, da bin ich fest von überzeugt. Und trotzdem muss man diesen Kampf, soweit es geht, ernsthaft führen. Man darf dabei aber auch nicht Illusionen verbreiten, weil in diesem Kampf kannst du auch den Fehler machen, zu sagen, wir kämpfen für eine demokratische Uni, die Uni könnte doch so und so sein, ein freier, neutraler Ort der Wissenschaft. Und auf einmal erzählst du Leuten Dinge über die Universität, die gar nicht stimmen. Nämlich, dass sie im Kapitalismus tatsächlich so ein Ort sein kann. Das vielleicht auf diese... Doch, man muss kämpfen. Also das habe ich versucht im Vortrag zu sagen. Der Faschismus ist sozusagen eine Herrschaftsoption und sie ist abhängig davon, was es an gesellschaftlichen Gegenkräften gibt. Also der Faschismus im Inneren, ich meine faschistische Außenpolitik und so weiter gibt es sowieso, aber jetzt welche Formen der Herrschaft in Deutschland und wo auch immer installiert werden können, hängt natürlich von den Kräften ab, die dagegen kämpfen. Gerade sieht es sehr bescheiden aus. Und diese Kräfte müssen formiert werden und der Kampf an der Universität und überall sind Orte, an denen sie formiert werden können. Aber wir sollten keine Illusion darüber haben, also ich denke, es ist falsch, solche Illusionen zu haben. Zu Susanne, ja, also ich glaube, dass du viel besser dich auskennst als ich, was die Entwicklung der Linkspartei angeht. Um es kurz zu machen, also ich habe keine Illusion und ich denke, objektiv ist das, was du gesagt hast, richtig. Also die Linkspartei funktioniert ja so, ne, dass sie ganz unterschiedlichen Leuten eine Heimat gibt und für alle ist was dabei sozusagen. Und das heißt, in dem Moment, wo große gesellschaftliche Teile sehen, was in Palästina passiert, kann man nicht einfach nur das wegwischen. Man kann vor allem nicht eine linke Partei sein und gar nicht irgendwie auch Angebote haben, die das thematisieren. Und insofern ist es grundsätzlich eine integrative Funktion, die nicht dazu führen wird, dass wirklich diese Massen gegen den Genozid auf die Straße gehen. Und das ist sehr schlecht und man muss sagen, die Linkspartei spielt darin insgesamt gesellschaftlich eine furchtbare Rolle, was die gesamten Kriege der letzten Jahre angeht, das wissen wir auch. Und das ist eines unserer Hauptprobleme. Ich will nur trotzdem sagen, dass es, glaube ich, auf der Basisebene komplizierter ist. Also da sind sehr viele Menschen, zum Beispiel der SDS Frankfurt, die sehr ernsthafte Kriegsgegner sind und die wirklich ernsthaft gegen den Genozid kämpfen und gegen den Faschismus. Und es gibt ja jetzt noch viel mehr Menschen, die in die Linkspartei hineingegangen sind, die vielleicht auch aus solchen Gründen in die Linkspartei hineingegangen sind. Das heißt, die Frage, was der Kampf in der Linkspartei bedeutet, ist nochmal eine ganz andere Frage. Ich bin nicht in der Linkspartei, aber ich glaube, es kann schon Argumente dafür geben, das zu machen. Es gibt natürlich einen Grenzwert dafür, genau. Aber die Frage ist natürlich auch immer, und das ist, glaube ich, die viel relevantere Frage, was ist die Alternative? Welche andere linke große gesellschaftliche Kraft gibt es? Genau, und da musste dann die DKP auf den Plan treten, aber das ist jetzt nochmal eine andere Diskussion.
Thank you. Just, I have this problematic position that I have to cut and everything because we have to stop really in 7 minutes. So we have to stop with the questions. This is always good if there are more questions than, because this means that the debate is really open. I invite you after when you go for lunch downstairs to continue the discussion, also the questions to our people on the stage. But I would invite you also to answer the question that was not answered yet and to maybe make a final statement also from your point of view. So to all of you if you want, of course. So we have 5 more minutes more or less. Do you want?
Okay, I'll try to be very brief, but thanks for raising the climate issue. I think that, this week we have learned that now it's impossible to respect the Paris Agreement and to limitate the rise of climate to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And it's actually 40 degrees in Paris, and it's unfucking bearable. And it's one of the minor aspects of climate change. So thanks for raising this issue. I think I kind of disagree with what you've said, is that I don't think that we are witnessing the end of capitalism. I think that fascism is a way to handle what will inevitably happen. But I'm not sure I understood well, so. Oh, yeah, okay. Then I agree totally. But the thing is, I think that fascism is a way to handle what might happen through climate change. And I think that obviously all of our struggles have to be climate struggles as well. But I think I will just say that we need to be careful about the fact that we don't have to articulate that in a kind of instrumental way. I have a good story about that. Is that yesterday there was an important demonstration in Paris against a weapon salon. That was led by the most important ecological organization in France, Les Soulèvements de la Terre, and the most important Palestinian one, Urgence Palestine. And I actually witnessed the birth of their alliances, which was last year at an event during which the Soulèvements were invited to talk about Palestine. And I remember that the first question that was asked to the comrade from Les Soulèvements, so she's an ecological activist, was, as a climate change activist, why do you condemn Israel's behavior? And she said, well, I'm against killing people, And I'm not sure whether you need to be ecological activist to do that. And then she explained that you know, the South is basically the victim of climate change that are induced through politics led by the North. And if you're consequent, I mean, if you're an anti-imperialist, you're also against climate change and so on. But I think that what was she trying to do is that we have to be careful about the way we create our convergences or alliances, and not to be kind of how, as a climate change activist, I relate to, you know, Palestine and so on. I relate to Palestine the same way I would as a human being. But there's also a narrative about like how climate change has been induced by politics from imperialism and so on, that need to be much more entertained within our struggles to be able to target what are the logical targets of the day.
Yes, I agree that it's a very important question about climate and anti-fascist struggle and general anti-imperialist struggle. We cannot separate it. For example, what is the irony? Joschka Fischer was the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany when Germany bombed my country. We know that he was from the Green Party. He very strongly supported it. And NATO bombed my country with depleting uranium and cluster bombs. And this is the reason because we can't do silent about imperialism if we want to speak about green policy. And what is the next irony? The Green Party from Germany gave a lot of funds from the so-called left-green front in my country, and they are so they want to fight for the green policy in my country, but they silent about this historical fact. And we have a very big problem with it, because after the NATO bombing, cancer illness growth more than 113% in my country. From my generations, everybody knows a lot of people from my generation, plus minus years, who got to cancer. But pro-Western media and their so-called scientists, they said, "Oh, this is Milosevic propaganda, blah blah blah, truth." But you have a problem with the cancer because you love to drink, you love to eat bad food, and this is the reason. Cluster bombs and depleting uranium, it's not the reason. And we need to clarify it, because this is all very, very important questions. And also we know what is the problem. If we speak about fascism in my region, we know who is the main problem. NATO is the main problem, because NATO has 3 bases in Romania, 13 bases in Greece, the biggest bases in Kosovo, Bonstil. It's biggest than Ramstein. And we know who led the policy divided and conquer, and what is the point of this policy. And if it's silent about the anti-imperialist struggle, about class struggle, we cannot speak about environment, about anti-fascism, etc. Thank you.
Closing remarks, right? Okay, I don't have a fancy closing remark, but I do have a quote. Can I read it out? Because I think it fits the conference as a whole, and also because we are also here at Marxist conference. And yesterday USA striked Iran, so I think it's fitting. It's by Hassan Kanafani, and he said, "Imperialism has laid its body over the world, the head in Eastern Asia, the heart in the Middle East, its arteries reaching Africa and Latin America. Wherever you strike it, you damage it, and you serve the world revolution." And I think this is also true for our fight in the heart of the imperialist beast against fascism.
Thank you to all of you. I have nothing to add after these closing words. I think you can take them as they are.